Hello, everybody. Welcome to a special episode of Tales from the Fandom. I'm David, the host of Tales from the Fandom since 5 years ago. That's right. Today's day is the 5th year anniversary of the first episode being released on the Tales from the Fandom podcast. It is hard to believe that I have been doing this podcast for so long, and it boggles my mind sometimes. It amazes me at others. Um, it is definitely something where it is a labor of love at times that just brings me a lot of joy, a lot of fun, and honestly, I don't know what I'd be doing without doing the podcast. Now, this episode is just me. I'm just going to be talking for a little bit, answering a few questions from Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and then kind of just, letting it go. Because I realize that a lot of the things that I love to do on the podcast is listen to people's stories. And for right now, the 5th anniversary, I'll take the win. I'll take the accolades of getting to 5 years with a podcast. A lot of podcasts don't make it past 10 episodes. And for me, I've made it many, many, many more. And I'm actually sitting on enough episodes to get to August and have enough people scheduled on recordings to finish out the year. So we've got a lot of great material coming up for you to listen to, a lot of different fandoms, a lot of stories, and I'm really excited for you to just really dive into each of these episodes, and hopefully you'll enjoy them. And if you enjoy them, I would love if you shared them or liked them or commented on them, just to let me know that you thought that they were good. So that's all I gotta ask. Now, I do want to say that 2020 was a year of growth. It was also a year of loss and of discovering new things. We've had fandoms come and fandoms go, whether movies and TV shows got canceled or renewed, new Broadway shows opening up, others closing. COVID definitely hit across the board with a number of the fandoms that I was into, and it's been a tough year. I mean, from the 4th anniversary episode to the 5th anniversary episode, which is today, it's been a lot. A lot of personal stuff has happened on my end that I'm really coming to terms with, or just growing and getting past. And just really, there was a lot of heaviness for not only me but for everybody. And I'm glad that we are slowly making our way out of it. I feel like we've changed and grown, but it's going to be a while. And for that, I understand. And I'm there, right there with you. Between last year and this year, I've done some things I never thought I'd do. I did several live stream shows during the summer of 2020 on the Get Vocal website and app. It didn't really work out right then, just because of school. Not really school, but the kids were home, and it was tough to balance. So maybe in the coming year, I'll be able to do some live stream shows. Probably more just doing it on my Twitch channel versus doing it on any app or other platform. So that way I'm more of in control of it. But, it was a good opportunity and experience, and I'm really glad that they provided me to have that platform and really see what works and what doesn't. It also doesn't help that I don't really have a great body image of myself. So that's something I'm going to be working on too. So yeah, if you see me, you understand. It's okay. Um, I set goals at the start of 2021, and I've actually met one, which was a follower count on Twitter of over 2,000, and I've met that, and I'm slowly on my way to the second goal, which is a Instagram count of 750. But again, the numbers aren't really something where, yes, they're important. Yes, more eyes are on the podcast, but honest to goodness, it's about the people that I get to talk to, and I really just enjoy getting to do that. So that's really the primary focus. I just want more people to listen and understand that we have had some fantastic guests on the show, and I really think they deserve to be heard. And I hope that they do get that chance and opportunity, and people go back through the backlog of episodes and take a listen and check the different episodes out. Not every episode is for everybody, but there's definitely an episode for everybody. It just takes some time to look and listen. I would be remiss without thanking those around me who have been there for me and supported me. My wife and kids are the number one, of course. Without them letting me do the recordings at night or during the daytime, there would be no podcast. My rock, Jaquel, who has been on the podcast more times than I have fingers on my hands, has always been there and supported and listened as I talk about the podcast and what's going on. And so thank you to Jaquel. And there was a new listener, Sky, who, again, loved her feedback. She loved to comment and send emails to note like what her thoughts were on the episodes, and in turn I was able to forward those to the listeners, or not to the listeners, but to the guests who she was listening to, and provide really great feedback. And she was a great supporter of the show, and I hope that she is doing well. I do want to, of course, thank all the new guests who've joined the Tales from the Fandom family over the past year. There was a number of new people who joined the podcast to give up their time to talk with me about the things that they loved. And again, without them being on the podcast, there would be no podcast. So thank you to all of my new guests. And again, as well, thank you to those who had been guests and came back and joined me for even more episodes. I love that there are so many of my previous guests willing and wanting to jump back in to do more with me, and I am super appreciative of that. It's always wonderful to ask somebody to come back and they wholeheartedly agree, or when my new guest at the end of the podcast episode just really expresses how much fun that they had and how that they enjoyed their time talking with me. And that's really what makes it worth it. I couldn't ask for the better people that I've had as guests. And I know that I have more wonderful guests coming up, and I'm just so excited for you to get a chance to listen to them. I did ask for some questions, mostly like Ask Me Anything questions on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. So I'm going to run through those and then wrap this episode up, because I have more episodes on deck and they are more interesting than I am. That's why I just asked the questions, but this time I'll answer some. One of my previous guests, Azula, along with a number of other people like My Strange Life, and a number of others who asked me what inspired me to start the podcast. About 6 years ago, is actually November of 2015. November 2015. Um, During Black Friday sales, I picked up a Yeti microphone, and I had said to myself that I wanted to do something. The kids were getting into school at that time, like kindergarten, pre-K kindergarten area. And I really wanted to start doing something for myself. Ever since the kids had been born, there wasn't a lot of time for me to do something. I used to really love playing tabletop role playing games like Dungeons and Dragons and Star Wars and Vampire and all those games. But with them being young and the way that the shops around the area run their tabletop games, it's not really conducive for me to go and attend because I tuck them into bed, I make dinner, I do all the sorts of things that you need to do with at that time kids that were about like 5 or 6 years old. So I bought a Yeti microphone, and the rest was history. I bounced ideas off of Jaquel for what I was going to do or wanted to do. And then I came up with some questions and ideas and made the name, figured out the name, and got some artwork done and secured all the social media information. And then it was learning Instagram, so that way I could send messages to people and invite them on the podcast, a podcast that didn't exist at the time. And if you listen to the original episodes, they're a lot different than what the episodes are now. And for those people, those first like 10 or 20 episodes that you hear, it is something. The people who said yes that they would guest on the podcast took a leap of faith in doing the podcast because there was nothing for them to listen to, at least for the first few weeks. I was recording episodes when there was no podcast. So thank you again to those who joined and said yes and gave up their time for something that I had no idea what I was doing, but I did it. But I really just wanted to do something for me, something that I could do at home, so I could make sure I was with the kids and make sure that I could still spend time with my wife, but also again do it from home. And I figured out how to do that balance. Sometimes the balance doesn't work. Sometimes I record too many episodes. Sometimes I just don't want to edit. But that's kind of how it goes with me. But so far, I've done a pretty good job, I think, of getting the episodes out. I've taken a few breaks, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing for me. It's a good thing for the podcast. But that's what I really started the podcast for, was just to have something to do and to make friends, because I'm very socially introverted and I don't really open up to people, and it's hard for me to make friends. And I guess if I'm not at like a tabletop role-playing game setting, it's even harder. So this allowed me to form friendships with some people and incredible relationships with others. There are so many people that I've talked to that I just consider friends, and it is my honor to have people come and give their time so willingly to talk to me about what they love. So that's why I started the podcast. As my inspiration, and here we are. Buka, who, if you don't know Buka is a streamer on Twitch, and you can check out their Twitter information. It'll be in the show notes and website links and Facebook page. Buka asked if there are any particular episodes that really stick out in my mind. I have to say, getting to talk with Christian Kane from Leverage and Angel was one of the highlights of 2020 and of the entire podcast, getting to talk with him. Same with Dean Devlin. He's the director and writer of several movies and Leverage and the librarians, and so that was a wonderful experience. More particular episodes that really stick out in my mind, the people that I never thought I'd ever talk to. One of my favorite authors, Kevin Hearn, was one of those who I was able to have a conversation with a whole episode after meeting him at a book signing. It was really cool to meet him and talk with him about the Iron Druid Chronicles and his upcoming works at the time. I mean, honestly, there are so many that it's hard to pinpoint like the episodes that stick out in my mind. My Avatar, The Last Airbender episodes are two that do phenomenally well. I think there's a couple where it's a really laid back conversation. Joshua with Hyrule Gaming Group, Drew Bearded, are really casual conversations, and I like getting to have that relaxed atmosphere. Sometimes I am a bit stiff with the interviews, depending on just conversationally speaking or what we're talking about. But I really like just kind of laid back, chill, just hang out conversation interview styles. Everybody's different, but there's definitely a number of standouts there. My Strange Life, who was a guest during the previous year, asked a few questions. She asked, what are some things that I've learned over the years about improving my podcast? And really, I have to say, getting some of the right equipment. The Yeti microphone, while good, is not great. And there are times where if you listen again to some of the original episodes, you'll hear a lot of background noise. The Yeti basically picks up everything. So I got a better mic. I upgraded my headphones last year due to viewer donations, which I'm incredibly grateful for, because my original headsets broke after 5 years. So I got new headphones, got the new microphone. I've learned how to edit a lot quicker. And I've learned that I don't need to cut everything. I don't need to cut all of the ums. I don't need to cut all of the likes, to leave it more as an authentic conversation and just to cut where I need to. And that's a great thing that I've learned. Mai also asked, what is the process of making an episode like? That's a little bit more difficult. I guess I can start at the beginning. Is I will scroll through people's Instagrams or on Twitter, and initially I will follow people and comment and try to like build up a relationship with them even before inviting them, because I want to make sure that they know that I'm not just there to be like, hey, come on the podcast and then disappear. One of the things I always love to do with my guests is always support them, always try to do my comments and likes and share their work with people, so that way it's not just a one-way street, essentially. So I typically follow. I typically scroll through the account, make sure there's not anything glaringly problematic with the person I'm interested in, because there have been some issues with guests that I was interested in, but their worldviews and alignment didn't really line up with mine, so I never invited them. So I'll follow them, I'll like and share and try to promote their work, and at a certain point, then I will send an email or an direct message and invite them on the show. If they say yes, that's great, and I send over a packet of information for them to complete and sign up for an episode schedule, and then we talk for about 90 minutes, and it becomes about an hour-long episode from there. And then I edit the podcast usually a week or two before it's released. That takes me, if it's an hour-long podcast, I typically set aside about 2 to 2.5 hours to edit. I do two passes. One is where I do a lot of the big cuts, and then one is for listening to make sure it still sounds good as with the flow and conversation. And then if there's anything else that I happen to miss, then I run it through a leveling program to make sure that a lot of the background noise is taken out, or any peaks or levels are too high or too low, they get adjusted to where it needs to be. And then I take about 30 minutes to do all the social media stuff, uploading it to the server, website, Facebook, Twitter, and just start planning all that stuff out. So that's really what the process of making an episode is like. It's more of just making sure I do everything that I'm supposed to do before the episode comes out. Sometimes I've done editing Sunday night before the episode comes out on Monday, but I've been trying to do it at least a week ahead of time, so that way I'm not stressing too much over it. Another former guest, Isabella Jones, asked, what's one fandom or subject that I still haven't talked about but would like to? That is probably the hardest question that I'm going to be answering today, because I've had the pleasure of talking about a lot of fandoms, a lot of topics that I never had talked about before, that I'd never explored before. Some, as this episode's coming out, the next two episodes cover K-pop in great detail, and I've never been into K-pop. But as I think about it, I think I'd love to learn more about just smaller fandoms or book series that I'm not aware of, or comic book series. A lot of things where they get overlooked. A lot of times people approach the episode where we talk about a lot of the major topics, the major anime, the major comic book series, the major movies or TV shows. I always try to find those people that also have smaller fandoms that they're into, that they're really passionate about. So typically anything smaller. I think the other thing is, and I've been trying to make a great strive for it, is to have more international guests. We have a guest coming up later this month that's from Argentina, and that was a joy to have. I've had a few guests come from England, which is always great because the time zones work. I'm trying to get more international guests, because more international guests means a lot of more different perspective than the traditional North American guests that we have, whether it's American or Canadian. So yeah, just smaller fandoms is what I'm really looking forward to learning more about. Isabel also asked, what's your favorite type of guest? My favorite type of guest is a guest who loves to tell stories, has stories to tell, is not afraid of rambling or going wherever they want to with the story. And it's something I talk to each of my guests about before we start recording, is to let them know that it's okay to ramble. It's okay to go wherever they want with the story. And honest to goodness, my podcast is a platform for what they would like to share. So really, as long as the guest is passionate, that makes me super happy. Some of my favorite guests are the ones who just take the microphone and run with it. And I swear, when I load up the editing software, I love when I see that my side of the recording, there's not a lot of me talking, because my goal is to not talk beyond asking some questions or having some back and forth conversation. I'm really wanting to just listen to the stories that my guests bring, and it's something that I love. I love to listen to that. Well, the last question wasn't a question that I'm going to read, but one of my guests who I finally got to connect with this year was Phil Rude. If you don't know Phil, Phil is a guest that shows up a lot on one of my favorite podcasts, Saying This. He has his own podcast, does tremendous artwork. If you're not following Phil, you definitely need to. But Phil just had a comment that he wanted to give me props for 5 years of celebrating what people love with positivity, and to keep shining a light on what's good about being a fan. And I think that's so important because the internet currently, when I was growing up, the internet wasn't as toxic. But with fandoms and the internet as it is now comes the potential, and it has been very toxic for a number of fandoms, and it makes me sad. It honestly does, to see some of the discourse between people over movies and shows where it's hard to understand, if we're watching the same show, how they can get such a toxic outlook on what we watched. Because, like, I just don't get it. And I know that everyone has their own opinion, but sometimes the opinions are just really, really not good. So when I do the podcast, my goal is always to support the guest in what they like or dislike and they want to talk about, but I always try to keep it in the positive manner. And if they want to take their discussion negative, which has happened, especially with fandoms like Game of Thrones, and some people like dislike the ending of the series and how it went out. That's totally fine, but I don't engage in it in social media. I won't engage in it on the podcast. I always just try to keep it very positive, very uplifting, and that's the goal. That is the goal for the podcast, is for me to be able to continue to make these new relationships and new friends, and to offer my podcast as a platform for them to talk about what they love or what they enjoy doing, whether it's like cosplay or crafting or writing, or people that are in the tabletop role playing game space. Uh, I really just want them to be able to use what I'm able to do to share out more about them. And that's always the goal. And I hope that I do that. So this has been the 5th anniversary episode. Please, 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 please. The only thing that I can ask any of you to do who are listening, who enjoy this podcast, please share it. Please let people know about the podcast. A little goes a long way, whether it's on Twitter or on Instagram. Even if you'd love to just like send me a comment about the episode that you listened to, it would be wonderful. It's something that I don't think a lot of people do with creative works. And I know that I try to do that same thing for other podcasts or artists or people's work or Twitch streams. And I would love to hear feedback, and I would love to see people talking about the episodes. But honest to goodness, I'm still glad that people listen to the podcast 5 years from now. I remember when episodes were getting 1 or 2 downloads over the course of a week, and that number has certainly improved to a level where I'm just like, these guests that I have, I would love more people to hear them and hear their stories and their thoughts. And that's all I want, is for these people, for my guests, to get that recognition that they deserve. So that's all I can ask. We have a number of great episodes coming up. We have a huge backlog of episodes that you can check out. And I just really want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for the time that you give for listening, or if you have been a guest, for coming on and being a guest. It means the world to me. And you can find all the social media stuff on the website, Facebook page, and in the show notes. I'll have links to everybody that submitted a question so you can check out their social media work. And again, thank you. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you for listening to Tales from the Fandom. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/talesfromthefandom to see photos, links, leave feedback, and check out upcoming guests. If you'd like to be a guest, email David at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com.